A super simple workflow for creators, teachers, authors, and online entrepreneurs. Yeah, hey everybody, this is Ian from Mindful Marketplace. I actually should have said a simple podcast workflow for authors, creators, teachers, and online entrepreneurs. So I want to share with you a very simple way that you can use Transistor.fm, the podcast publishing platform, which is what we use at Mindful Marketplace, in conjunction with a couple other tools to really create a very powerful publishing platform or recording studio and publishing platform to really quickly create tons of content for your coaching, your community, your blog, your brand, and your publishing platform. So here is the workflow. Step one, I'm recording this audio right now using the Tap Media voice recorder. It's actually $1.99, I believe, a month. I think that's what we pay for it. It's a super great app for recording, and it actually, I'm recording this on my iPhone, and it actually has a very cool transcription feature, which essentially allows you to transcribe your podcast, your audios, with a single click. So when this particular call is completed or recording is completed, I'm simply going to transcribe this call, and I'm going to have a written document that will accompany this audio document to be repurposed across our platform. So once that's done, I'm going to take the MP3 and I'm going to upload that to our Transistor.fm podcast studio. And Transistor.fm is really a revelation to me. So I've been recording podcasts for many years now using Spotify and Anchor and using those sorts of apps to do the recording. And I really never could understand why one would opt to pay for a podcast publishing platform. So something like Transistor or Castos or Captivate.fm, those sorts of companies, those sorts of services, it always escaped me why one would pay for that when there are free alternatives like Anchor.fm, for an example. But what I found, and I'm going to essentially walk you through this little shortcut in a second, but what I found is Transistor offers all of these really amazing ways of repurposing your content that you can't do using something like Anchor or Spotify or a similar publishing, recording and publishing platform for your podcast. So once I have the transcription and I have the audio and I've uploaded that audio to Transistor, Transistor allows me to connect our YouTube channel to Transistor, and they will auto post every recording like this one to our YouTube channel, giving me another stream of, or another audience and another place where this content will live, allowing me to repurpose the audio content in a really smooth and completely automated way. There's nothing else I need to do once I created the sync between YouTube and Transistor. Transistor will update those every time I publish a podcast with the uploaded MP3 file. Transistor will then subsequently push that podcast out to YouTube with a background image that I can select, and I now have people who are never going to listen to my podcast, but who are actually watching our YouTube content. And it's this tangential audience. I'm getting all this extra coverage on this major platform, YouTube in this case, that is incredibly powerful. And really, it's almost too good to be true, but I'm seeing across several of our channels how effective this has been just in the last 3 or 4 days. Now, I'm also going to take that written file, the transcribed version of this recording, for an example, and I'm going to use that obviously on our website. So now I have this third tertiary, type of content. In this case, text-based content, which the search engines obviously love. That's going to be a long form essay style post that's going to accompany the podcast and is going to accompany the video on our website. And this will be on our partners.mindfulmarketplace.com website and our community.mindfulmarketplace.com blog. And essentially, this allows all this extra search engine optimization by virtue of repurposing the content in these three different ways: audio, video, and obviously more conventional text. And I'll tell you one other step that I always do that I find is so beneficial to our brand, so beneficial to our to the enhancing the exposure of our content and our community, is I will then take that post, let's say the community.mindfulmarketplace.com post, which is going to have this podcast, a video, and the written text that accompanies both, and I will import that story to Medium, to our Medium blog. And Medium gets such great search engine priority of placement from Google and the other search engines that it often outranks everything else that we do. And it gives me a really quick way of getting all of this out front of a much larger audience in the blogosphere rather than the podcast or YouTube ecosystems. And it also sends the traffic back when you import a story to the original source, which in this case, of course, is our community blog. So that gets an SEO or a search engine benefit as well, or a bump. And it's just a really, really super simple kind of 4-step automated process. There's a little manual intervention in there, obviously, but it's pretty much all done with a large degree of automaticity. Or automation, I should say. So the only manual interventions are taking cutting and pasting the transcribed text and doing a little bit of editing to make sure there's not a lot of spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes. Sometimes, because I have a tendency of speaking quickly, those occur more frequently with me than other folks that I know. But it's really just super easy to do, and it truly embodies this idea of serve at scale. What can you borrow to build? What can you leverage to launch? What gives you superpowers insofar as your content, your community, your ability to publish across your platform by borrowing or leveraging other tools and tech, software and services that are out there now that really do give you this sheen of, superpowers, or at least supercharge your ability to produce content that builds your community. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. I hope that if you're building something, writing something, creating something, you leverage this sort of workflow. We have tons of these to share. The whole Serve at Scale podcast and everything that we're trying to communicate in this short series, or at least I'm trying to communicate, is under the ethos is that, right? What allows us to exponentially increase our impact, our output, and ultimately our income by borrowing and leveraging really cool tools and tech that are available pretty much to everybody on a bootstrap budget. I recommend Transistor. I pay for it. I recommend you do as well. It's $19 a month for the base plan. We actually are on the middle plan, which I think is $49 a month, simply because we're also taking advantage of the private podcasting feature, which I'm going to cover in some other recordings, which is also just amazing. And I'm super stoked to share that with you as well. Okay. Teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, hi@mindfulmarketplace.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.